are the future. It is a line we've been hearing forever now, and despite that, there are only a handful of electric cars in the Indian market. But the scene is changing. There are additions, the latest of which is this one, the Mercedes-Benz EQC. Now what that is a full electric SUV from the manufacturer that gave us the first bona fide internal combustion engine. But we need to ask it the same electric questions. Is the battery range enough? Are there enough features? And is it a proper, comfortable and luxurious Mercedes-Benz? We shall answer all of that in this video. Before the video gets nerdy with numbers from the battery tech, let's just look at the design. Progressive is what Mercedes say the EQC is, and that's evident when you look at it. It doesn't look like it belongs in Blade Runner or Star Wars, and that's not a bad thing. It looks like an expensive Mercedes with its plush and sublime design, and yet plenty of EVQs. The blue elements in the headlamps, the big LED bar that runs along the bonnet, blue accents yet again for the alloy wheels, and the rear, which is even more subtle than the front. Inside too, the EQC isn't exactly a spaceship, but it does feel modern and upmarket. The cabin is plush, it's got that luxe appeal, and everything you touch feels expensive. The vents get these bronze accents that look a lot better in person, and a sweet sounding Burmester system is part of the package as well. The tech is good too. The MBUX system is nice and crisp and offers a ton of information regarding your battery, like charge flow and where the next charging station is. So there's a lot to keep you engaged in the front seat. Now let's jump straight to the million-dollar question, the range. Now Mercedes say the EQC will do over 450 kilometers on one charge. Now that's a bold claim, but of course it's a lab-tested result. Real-world numbers won't be as much, but you can easily expect over 350 kilometers on a single charge. And honestly, for intra-city commute, which is what the EQC is for, I think 350 kilometers is more than enough. Now in terms of battery tech, the EQC is a lot clever than you think. There's so much going on underneath it. First of all, there are two motors, both of which are asynchronous. One for the front axle, one for the back axle. Combined, the battery capacity is around 80 kilowatt hour. And 80 kilowatt hour might sound less to you, but trust me, it develops 408 volts, which is roughly around 400 horsepower. And a whopping 760 Newton meter of torque. Now 760 Nm of torque is something you get on supercars, and this EQC is no less. 0 to 100 is 5.1 seconds, and 5.1 seconds for a car that weighs 2.5 tons is ridiculous. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if this came with an AMG badge. I know you're scoffing, but trust me, it genuinely has the performance. It has that crazy straight line speed. It has that manic acceleration that you get on AMGs. The fact that it's silent is a downer, but in terms of everything else, it is definitely worthy of that AMG badge. However, on an EV, what's more important than outright performance is the recharging, and the EQC gets enough options here. Apart from the standard charger compatible with the 3-pin socket at your house, you have the AC wall box charger that Mercedes provides at your home or office. This one will take 10 hours to charge at 7.4 kilowatt hour. Then you have the DC fast charging, which pumps up the battery in just 90 minutes and charges at 50 kilowatt hour. But what's worth noting is that Mercedes will not even accept booking unless they themselves come and verify that you have all the necessary charging infrastructure to set up the wall box charger, and that is quite a relief. And of course, the batteries then also charge as you drive along. If you're wondering what these paddles are behind the steering wheel, they are of course the Regen functions. Now the car gets 5 of them between auto, D+, D, D-, and D-. It all sounds a bit confusing, but it's not really. See, automatic is the car deciding how much regen you need. D is basically a little bit of regen. D+ is no regen unless you put your foot on the brake. D- is strong regen, and D-, is the anchor that just dives the car right down. It's not advised if you're doing some serious speed. It is very heavy and it is only advisable for city drives or if you're going downhill. Best way is to just leave it in auto and let the car work it for you while you enjoy the rest of the stuff. Now, I don't know how important driving dynamics are on a car like this. You know, it's an EV after all. People are going to be using it most of the time in the city. So things like body roll and understeer are least of its concerns. You know, you're never going to go attacking hairpins and corners, so it really doesn't matter. What is impressive though is the ride comfort. You see, the suspension is fantastic for a 2.5 ton car. It handles bumps and potholes really well. Now the back seat of the EQC is where most customers would like to be, and why not? Legroom is good, headroom is good. The cabin is also nice and wide. Problem is the center tunnel that makes the back seat best for 2 adults. What we would have also liked is a panoramic sunroof just to open up the cabin that much more. But all the other things are good. What's more important is the ride quality, which is absolutely fantastic. The suspension is nice and supple. You can barely feel the road under you. And what further complements it is the silent motor. There's none of that EV whine that you get with electric motors. It is nice and quiet, a very, very plush place to be. The EQC might not look radical, but it is an exceptionally good EV. It has plenty of range, is fun to drive, is practical, there are enough features on offer, and lastly, it is comfortable and plush like you expect a Mercedes to be. Prices are expected to be around the ₹1 crore mark, and before you roll your eyes and shut this video, just think about the glaciers melting, think about the rampant pollution, think about the last few drops of oil left under the earth. If you have that kind of money, don't think twice before writing up a check for this, because the simple fact is, the more you drive the EQC, the more you can drive your AMG.